Sci-fi becomes real is the headlines that are going around. More on that in a second. But Clarkesworld has shut down submissions for short stories temporarily, which is a very big move if you are in that space, because they have been inundated on like a DDoS type level with AI submissions for short stories. Uh, Rhett, I know you follow this one a lot more closely than I do, although I am
Yeah,
familiar with Clark's World, and I am familiar with a lot of the short stories that are submitted there.
yeah,
But yeah, this is kind of for for me taking the stance a couple of weeks ago that AI isn't coming from your job, and maybe you should embrace it as a tool and work forward. And I've said the same thing about programmers in the past. All of a sudden, here we are seeing some short story writers are trying to be pushed aside by AI.
yeah. And really, I did a lot of reflection, like, because when we were doing those AI videos, I was kind of sad, and I think it's really, again, it's not because I feel like I don't know how to narrow it down, but this story really sums up what had me nervous, right? Like capitalism, this idea of hustle and grind,
Mm-hmm.
the hustle and grind bros, rise and grind, like they're out here just trying to figure out how to make a few quick bucks all the time. And like we saw it with NFTs right away early on. It's like the people that are probably, scripting bots to inundate Clark, Clarkesworld slush pile with these stories are probably the same ones that made the crappiest NFT, you know,
Yeah.
Twitter avatars they could and tried to sell them for, or like, remember the whole, what was it? Was it with Dune or something? I don't know. I remember there was like this big NFT
There have been
scam
so
with,
many
I
different
can't even begin.
NFT, Activision claiming NFTs are or no, Ubisoft was claiming
Yeah,
NFTs are the future of gaming,
right.
and yeah, see how well that worked out.
Well, and the reason it's a big deal with Clarkesworld is because, like, I announced it last time I was on the show 2 Wednesdays ago that, like, hey, I just published another story, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a story that I got paid for, but it's hobbyist rates, right? Like I got paid like a penny per word is what I made writing that story and selling it to this magazine.
Yeah.
And Clarkesworld is renowned because they pay pretty decently, and I think their rates begin at 12 cents a word,
Yeah.
which is like, that's like early in your career rates that people should be striving for.
Right.
And I think they go up higher, but what sets them apart is, number one, they pay fairly decent, and their submission window is always open. A lot of magazines, you'll see, if you want to be a creative writer and write fiction and be published in speculative magazines and things like this, like their windows open and close very, very quickly. And if you don't have something ready to go, sometimes it can be really hard to get into that
Right.
space. And Clarkesworld is always open. And they are so progressive in the way they don't require you to send in paper manuscripts of your stuff. They don't require submission fees. Like so many places, like, yeah, we need a $10 submission fee so that we can have our editors and our slush readers read through all their work and all this sort of stuff. Like it is as equitable as humanly possible at Clarkesworld, and they pay,
Yeah.
and this is just like a really kind of, I don't know, it's a gross distortion of like this good faith thing that they're doing over there. And they had no choice but to close their submissions while they figure out a way to weed these out.
Right.
And of course, everybody has their own idea. Well, why don't you just, they have tools to identify it. And they're like, yeah, but the tools aren't that reliable.
Right.
Well, then how do you even know it's AI? How do I even know it's AI? Because it reads like it's coming straight from Chat GPT, and
Right.
it's not that hard. I've been doing this for a long time. You know,
What was
yeah,
the website that is basically using a lot of ChatGPT and similar technologies to write their articles now?
BuzzFeed.
BuzzFeed, thank you.
BuzzFeed was
Um,
like they found like 50 articles at the time.
right.
It was like, oh my god.
Right. And actually, that kind of segues into I don't know if you saw Ian Cutress did a take um, on AI and journalism and things like that.
Right.
Kind of related to this. In fact, let me see if I can look up that. Twitter thread, because someone was really offended that a journalistic website basically used AI to reword a press release on an embargo date. And Ian kind of defended it. I don't want to put words in his mouth, so let me look this up real quick.
I will.
Yeah.
He said that Rhett is the best. He's a genius.
Yeah.
Far smarter than Jeff. Which is true. So,
I mean, right?
You can't hit him with libel.
Gosh. And here I am scrolling in real time over his last. Anyway, to summarize, he said that it all has to do with SEO, because you get negatively impacted as a website for simply reposting word for word
Oh, right. Yeah, I did see that.
Whereas if you can provide a synopsis of a press release and provide additional content or pictures or things like that, your SEO will improve. And so outlets that are simply taking a press release, copying and pasting into their format, and then hitting publish, they're not getting clicks because, well, I'm just going to go to the manufacturer or OEM's website to read the press release so I can see their letterhead and their things like that.
Right. He said that Google and all the search engines, they disincentivize that by lowering your ranking.
Right.
And so, yeah, exactly. It's not even that they're making a conscious decision to go to the OEM's website. They're just going to be directed to the OEM's website, you know, if everybody's copying it.
Yeah. I can't find his Twitter thread at the moment, but yeah, it was something very similar to that. And like it or not, that's going to become a pretty regular practice. In fact, I've had a number of websites that have been very suspect of using similar styles for quite a while, for basically just rehashing tutorials or forum posts or things like that. But getting to the heart of this with Clarkesworld, with AI generated content for short story submissions, long form story still going to be difficult, but short story, single character, single event, or even 2 or 3 character, short stories. I kind of disagree that this is where sci-fi becomes real and the machines are creating all of our art for us.
I was blown away by a lot of the sort of discourse that I was seeing, because a lot of people are like, well, what's the big deal? Like, this is science fiction. Oh my God, somebody could make this a story, or somebody could take the things that they're doing, or blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I don't know. You see so many, like, established writers being like, what makes sci-fi so popular is that they are stories about human beings experiencing human things with cool science and technology in the background. Not that they're not stories about cool technology. They're stories about people.